Hey, can I mess up something that's supposed to be super easy? Well, remember, failure is always an option. Catch me and find out what I'm talking about after these titles. Hey everybody, Anthony Dodge, the Märklin Outsider, the Mile Train Outsider here. And you may remember a couple of weeks ago as I'm recording this, I got a gift of a new Class E186 electric locomotive from a friend of the channel. Now this came out of a starter set and it's a very basic decoder in it, and I want to upgrade the decoder. Now I have bought decoders and installed them on plug and play trains that didn't have a decoder, but this will be the first time I actually try to remove an old decoder and install a new one. And I'm doing this because when I mentioned putting a new decoder in this, a couple of people said, well, would you film it? Now I'm going to replace this with the latest version of Märklin's MFX Plus electric locomotive decoder. It comes with all the basic sounds, and then you can go in later and fine-tune what you want with the CV codes, but it's all installed on here, and it's the first time I've done this. I'm not going to film everything I do. I have enough trouble holding a soldering iron with my shaky hands. I have enough trouble focusing on the job at hand without being conscious of the camera. But I will try to stop at stages and say, here it is, here's what we're doing, and here's what I've got to do next. So, let's get to it. All right, so here is locomotive, here is the decoder. It is Märklin 6979, and inside we have the 21-pin decoder, the sound decoder with wires, a speaker, and the brace that holds the speaker in place. So I will take the shell off of this and then show you what we have. All right, so here's the shell removed from the locomotive. And here is our old decoder. And you can see there are 4 screws that hold it in place, as well as 2 soldering joints here and here on the motor. And then you have 3 wires, 2 brown, 1 red, that are soldered as well. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, remove these light pins. I'm going to remove these from these sockets here. And then I will remove the screws, except for one, to hold it in place while I unsolder the wires. And then I'll remove the last screw. You keep the last screw in just to help hold it in place so it's not bouncing around. And then I will cut back, but here's the new decoder, at least the first half of the decoder with sound. And once I get the other decoder out of the way, I'll show you what all we have to do here. But you'll notice it has the soldering points where you attach the wires as well, and your point where you attach the decoder. So we'll come back. All right, so I've unscrewed 3 of the screws, and I have removed the light bands from their sockets. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and unsolder these wires, heat up the solder, and remove those wires. And then the trickier part is there are a couple of flanges that are under this heavy solder joint here, and I have to heat those up to remove the pin from, and I'll remove the screw remove this screw before I undo the flanges here. But I have to undo these flanges that are here to remove the circuit board. But I like to leave that screw in while I'm trying to solder all these other points just so it's not moving on me. Okay, so I have now removed the 3 wires. So now I have to undo the flanges here, and I'll take this screw out as I do this because I have to heat this up and bend the flange up out of place before I can remove this. So the old chip has been removed. There are the old flanges. And so now we're going to take the new decoder, the new chip, and these 2 wires are going to go down through this hole right here because that goes out to the speaker feed, which I'll show you later. We'll also have to make sure these pin stops are set correctly. All right, so I have just set in the new decoder. And I put the screw in just to help hold it in place before I start soldering. Just like I left it in until I was ready to unsolder these, I put it in just so I can solder these in place without it bouncing around. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and solder these in place, and I'll probably go right ahead and reattach these wires. And the nice thing is the Märklin comes with so much solder, it really should be heat it up, stick it in, and call it good. But I will reattach these 3. They're all where they should be. It's all set to go. It's just a matter of clipping these into place, soldering them into place. I shouldn't have to add too much extra solder, if any at all. There's enough there that should hold it. Okay, so now I have soldered the 2 brown wires and the red wires in, not greatly, but firmly. It's ugly soldering. And I've soldered the flanges here down. So now I have to read the instructions on what to do with these particular pins. And then I attach the decoder here. Plus now it's safe to push these wires down this hole. And I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so I think I was actually showing you from above, putting them through the screw hole, but there's a little hole underneath the decoder where you will slide these 2 speaker wires out, and you will solder them onto the 2 preset points. You can see it doesn't matter which side you solder it on, because you don't complete the circuit until you add both wires, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, there's 2 solder points you add on, and then this, after you soldered the wires, will drop in to that bit, and there's a cover on it. But that's the last thing I'll do, so bear with me. Okay, so the speaker is in place, and the little holding bar is in. And then also I forgot to show that the light cords are put into their proper place. Now these stoppers here are for matching directional lighting. But as this is pretty cut and dry, I believe it comes preset for this format anyhow. But we're going to put it on the test track and try, because everything's done. Now it's just put it on the test track. Okay, so I've put this on my programming track, and I've installed the decoder. Now, the thing with the decoder is you just got to make sure that the one spot, which is empty, matches with the empty pin slot. And then you slide this over all the other pins. Whoops. You just got to remember when you're installing a decoder that the blank spot, the one spot, goes over the spot that doesn't have a pin, and then all the others line up. So now comes the moment we're waiting for, which is I'm going to turn on the power and see if it installs. This is an MFX Plus, so it should just automatically install. And unfortunately my camera just went out, but you can see it is being read. And so now it's installed. Okay, I've set the camera down so that you can look at this. Now, this locomotive is not set for directional lighting. So what I'm going to do is turn the lights on. I'm going to switch this in direction of travel, at least what I hope is direction of travel, so you should see the lights come on. And voila, we have lights, headlights. And if I switch direction, you should see nothing, but we'll come around and we have lights on the other end. Okay, so that works. Let's try sound. All right, we're getting horns. Sorry about the shaky camera, guys. I'm holding this with my hands, and anybody who follows this channel knows. All right, now the ultimate test. And let's see if I can hold this with my slightly steadier hand. And it's going to go, if things are right, it's going to go to the right. There we go. Change direction, go to the left. And other than getting the shell on, I think we have success. Okay, so there it is, and I'm not kidding myself. That was about as ground level as you can get with replacing a decoder. The other decoders I have replaced are when I took very basic decoders that were already installed, almost like a blanking plate, and you just unplug the old decoder and plug in the new one. This was the first time I've actually had to completely change out a decoder. I'm fully aware, this is not like taking an old locomotive and trying to make it digital. This was pre-set up to be digital. They still make decoders that fit the slot. So this is nothing remotely worth patting myself on the back. I'm happy because it's very difficult for me to solder these days with my shaking hands, and especially little tight soldering. And it probably took me, well, would it take me 10, 15 years ago, 10 minutes to solder? It took me about 40 minutes to do it. But be that as it may, I did it. It's upgraded. It's got sound now. It's got all kinds of additional functions, braking and so forth. The only thing I want to know, and this is one of the few times I'll actually ask for people, is if anybody knows, do they sell an additional lighting system that works with this? And again, you would have to know the format. You saw the ribbons, you saw the cables for the lights, and they are one-way directional lights. There are no rear lights. But be that as it may, I would like to install that in time because it's already preset to have it work. So if I could get the directional lighting where I get the red tail lights and the brights and all that working, If somebody knows what I would need to get, leave me a comment down below, my Märklin friends. The nice thing about this is that it was plug and play, other than I had to do the soldering. And what's really special, what I really love about Märklin's MFX Plus is you'll notice that it's auto read. I didn't have to install anything. I set it on my programming track and my Central Station 3 just automatically reads it. It takes it a few seconds, but it automatically reads it and installs all the functions. Everything's in, and then I can go in and adjust CV codes if I need to, but I've never had to. The other thing that's cool is that Märklin automatically assigns it an address. Most decoders come preset to an address. In many cases it's 3. In fact, if you buy a chip from Roco or get a train from Brava or Roco or Pico, it's usually set to address 3 for the Märklin system. And that's probably true with a lot of things. Märklin with MFX Plus decoders no longer even sets an address. What Märklin does is when you put it on your programming track, it reads the decoder and then it goes through all the trains installed on your Central Station 3, and the next lowest decoder address is where it goes. And then you can go back and change it if you want. Like if you like to give your decoders the number of the locomotive or something like that, you can go in and change it. But to load it in, for example, I had locomotives 1 through 18, and then I had 20 through 27, all addresses set. So it gave it address 19. Hey, you've got 18, you've got 20, it's 19. And if I want to go in and make it 193 or 642 or what have you, I can do that. But that's, to me, that's kind of cool with the Märklin system. It's that it will automatically assign it an address that is not on your address list. It will just give it there and fill the slot. And then you can leave it there like I do. I just load it into my address sheet and say, okay, address 19 is now this guy. But it's really cool. For somebody that this is all kind of new. So there it is. It's installed. Again, I just can't film doing this. I have to do something and then say, okay, I need to take a break, I need to rest my hands. Now I can show you what I've done to this stage. But as it is, it's up, it's running, and it's got the sound functions and everything I wanted. And I didn't accidentally get solder in the wrong place to create a short out in the decoder or blow the decoder. So, for the gentleman that asked me that when I install this decoder, would I film it? Here it is. And for anybody else, I don't know that you'd find this interesting, because again, for the 3rd or 4th time, to you guys that do decoders all the time, this is as easy as they come. I understand that. I'm not waving the flag. I'm happy, and I guess I will leave it there with a couple of quick running shots with the sounds running. So until I see you again, I will say Auf Wiedersehen, tschüss, and happy trains. Take care, everybody.